So walking through the pits here on Thursday morning at the Tulsa Shootout, Kyle and Brexton Busch are having a pretty good time. Kyle, you know, you're always exciting to watch on track, but I think we really have to start with Brexton. 6th to 1st last night in junior sprint. You gave a really good interview to the guys right after your race, and you talked about how much fun you were having. What's this weekend like? Going 6th to 1st is fun, but how's the whole event overall?
Well, it's really fun. It's all the best competitors are here, and we've tried for 4 years. We almost had one last year, but on the first lap we got flipped.
Okay, yeah, you don't want to do that. The first lap last night was much better, going 6th to 1st. Super impressive stuff. Kyle, we were talking off camera. This is your 4th shootout, 3rd in your own equipment. What's the what's taking on this event like when you have to roll in with all your own stuff? You've got Al spinning the wrenches for you. You got a bunch of good people around the pit area. But what goes into this event, coming out with your own stuff?
It's just a lot of preparation back at the shop. I mean, all year round we race across the country. Him running junior sprints and restricteds anywhere we can go. Myself running as much as I can at the same places he does, but a lot of it was done at Millbridge this year, you know. So great home track to race at, won the track championship. He and I both did, so that was a lot of fun. And then all the preparation and everything with all the cars to get ready to come here. There's just a lot to it, but a lot of great help, a lot of great hands with Al and Aaron and Greg, and of course too with Lucas Oil and linemen and hypers and drivens, everything. We've got it all.
Okay, so your dad, obviously, you know, he's pretty good in a race car. People know him, right? People talk about him. People follow him on Instagram, but people follow you on Instagram too. What's it like racing with your dad? Do you guys get out of the cars at the end of the night and talk and go over what each one of you did? Do you give him tips? Is he bugging you for advice? What's it like racing with your dad?
Well, sometimes whenever he doesn't do too good, I tell him how to race, and sometimes whenever I don't do too good, he gives me some tips.
Okay, so when you don't do so good, you're telling him how to race. How do those discussions normally go?
I mean, it's good. It's fun. You know, it's just there was a race airport this year where he was like, you got to run the bottom. And, of course, I went to the top to try to make something happen because everybody was stuck on the bottom. And he comes in afterwards and he says, I told you had to stay on the bottom. So there's just times it's fun. You know, it's just neat to be able to do that. And we prep a lot. We try to get him ready for any circumstance that might come about with last night's heat race and all that sort of stuff with a couple slower cars that we felt like were in front of us. And so we just needed to make sure we were ready to jump out of line and get going. And he did a great job execution on that. And we've got a little bit more here to go this week.
Okay, see, now that's interesting, the story he just told me, because I've heard rumors that you ripped the top and you've been trying to get your dad off the bottom a little bit. Is that true? Are you up there just banging the wall and you're calling him to get up there with you? I've heard he's nervous about going up top. Is that true?
Yeah, he's a little nervous to go up top, but whenever he did it at the airport, he overheated. But once I did it at Coles County because I had to get to second, and I actually got around on the top.
Okay, so you're catching up to him. You're getting up a little bit higher up there. 4 different classes. You're running 2 different frames between the wing and the non-wing stuff. Is it hard to go back and forth between the 2 different chassis?
Not really. The weirdest thing is just where the shifter is. Where the clutch is. If you have something happen and you got to clutch real quick to get out of a jam, left hand or right hand, you know. So, but the car feel, I just could never really get the driven non-wing into the racetrack the way I wanted it to. But the Hyper's definitely given me a better feel for that. But the driven stuff is fantastic for the wing stuff. So we've been really fast with that, and that's what he's been on, is the driven stuff with the wings, with the junior sprints and the restricted so far. So you know, we'll just keep racing it however we find it comfortable.
All right, well, I loved all the stuff you guys put out in prep for this weekend and this event. I think you joked, we know you're doing the Chili Bowl in a few weeks. You joked and talked about being afraid you might not be able to fit into one of those race cars. I'm new to the Tulsa Shootout. I'm new to micro racing. Just what's it like? They look pretty roomy at different times. What's it like being inside one of these race cars as a taller guy?
It's actually nicer in a micro because you've got the whole frame of the car to put your legs down and alongside. You're tight because the motor pushes your legs together, but at least you get to sprawl out, you know, where a midget you're sitting in it like a chair, like you're sitting on the toilet, and it's literally just knees bashed into the dash and your back is stuck up against the seat. So not a lot of room for any sort of accidents that may happen.
Yeah, I get it. And Brexton, when he's getting ready to go out on track, what's the last thing you tell him? What's the driver? What's the life coaching you give to Kyle Busch before he goes out on track?
Well, most of the time I go watch 2 races ahead, maybe 1 race ahead, then run back down and tell them how the track is, tell them if it's slick or not and where to run.
Hey, this is a formidable pairing right here. Kyle and Brexton Busch. Not only are they fun to watch race out on the track, they're fun to talk to. Guys, thanks a bunch and best of luck the rest of the weekend.